This will be Castor's first time working with the halter. So I've already done some touching with him. I probably should have done definitely should have done some more. So this is pretty much my first time working with Mustang. So we're here, like he's lifting his head up, he's showing you like he's not comfortable with that much touching. And really I got very stuck on, okay, the halter has to go on, very stuck on just doing this one thing. And I think we all can get there and get stuck in that, like, okay, this one thing has to be done. So I'm going to fast forward through him eating here. So that's why it's faster. I'm going to cut out those parts too because it takes much longer. But he is eating in between. I'm giving him a minute in between. So I think we get stuck on a little, like, just finishing tasks and not necessarily how our horse feels about it. And that really has a huge impact on how you're going to get that task done anyway. See, he's raising his head. He's like, I'm not okay with this. He's leaning away. He's still not okay with this. So, and I'm not paying attention or showing him that I see that he's worried at all. And I think the idea here is I was like, okay, well, just gonna stand there and wait until he's more comfortable, and then I'll click and feed. So I'm mixing positive and negative reinforcement there because I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna wait until he relaxes, but he's already told me that he's worried about it. So I'm getting some progress, but I'm leaving that tension in there because he's kind of he's in conflict. So he's staying because he wants to eat the grain, but he doesn't necessarily want to be there and he doesn't necessarily want me to touch him. So here his head's lower, but he's still not definitely okay with any of that. So there, I cut out the part where he was just eating. So really you can tell from that first video, like I had touched him on the face for the first time and now I'm like trying to touch him everywhere and he's just not ready for that because he's showing me that. And some horses might be ready for that at that point in time. They're all different, but by having him have his head raised and he's leaning away, like he is not completely comfortable. And at this point I should just have done a lot less touching and like just done one little touch, back up, come back, do a little touch, click reward, back up, and repeat that until I can approach him without him raising his head. And then I can start moving my head around or my hand around on him. But there, like, you could tell he raised his head up and then he took that step away. Like, he's not comfortable with the halter. And I had definitely skipped some steps there and just went ahead and touched him with it. I should have showed him the halter, let him see the halter, and then taking the halter away. Maybe he sniffs toward the halter, click and treat, take the halter away, let him touch it on his own, versus I'm just there to just stick it on him. So this would be, that's actually really good right there where I touched him and he didn't move. I should have just clicked and fed and walked away at that point. But again, um, I'm just basically critiquing myself because I'm like, okay, well, this was wrong, but at the time I didn't realize that it was wrong. But now we can all learn from it, especially me, because later on I have a really, really hard time getting out or Castor to be haltered. And now I see why, because I he was in conflict the entire time. He was worried about it, and then I never um paid attention to him. I never said, oh, like maybe he's worried about this and slowed down a bit. So that's why now that I see that. But at the time, it's just very frustrating. I was just like, I don't understand why he doesn't get it. So I should have basically done this in different parts to where, like, I should have broken it down much, much smaller pieces. I'm just doing huge, huge pieces here. So I should have just started with the touching and expanded the range on him where I could touch, let him touch the halter, then let the halter touch him, and then expand on where the halter can touch, and then work on over his neck and under his neck with the halter and stuff like that. But I just kind of did it all at once, and no wonder he didn't like it and he was worried and he was in conflict. And conflict is he wants to come and eat the food, but he's afraid about what you're doing. So, and that's going to be a mixture of I didn't exactly know what I was doing, obviously, but and then I'm using like some negative reinforcement in with my positive reinforcement because if I was just using positive reinforcement, I would have shown that he's worried and then step back and let him be. But I didn't. I was like, oh no, he's just going to stay here because that's what you do with negative reinforcement. You just wait until they relax. But that usually doesn't work. So, but like there, he backed up. He was like, I'm not super sure. And then there he's twitching while I bring the halter up. So I had way too many steps chunked together. I should have broken it down much, much, much smaller. I mean, but Castor's a champ here. Like, he's doing pretty good.